Council meeting to order. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Hilberg.
Here.
Colasar.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Simpson. Coin.
Here. Reading of the minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting of February 8, 2016 as prepared and submitted by the clerk be approved.
Second.
Discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Reports of standing committees. The Finance Committee met prior to Finance, and it was a great meeting. We have another meeting in 2 weeks to follow up on the discussion that we had this evening regarding the court and the parking deck. Health, Safety, and Sanitation Committee, Mr. Colzar.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a meeting scheduled this Thursday at 5:30 downstairs in the at City Hall here, and we have 3 items on the agenda, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Public Properties Committee, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Properties has no official meeting schedule, but we are having a special council meeting on Wednesday here at 5:30, and the main topic will be the discussion of the pool that had been on Public Properties agendas for many months. So just wanted to make sure the community knew if you had any interest in talking about the pool, the city pool, it'd be Wednesday at 5:30.
Thank you. Special Legislation Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. Special legislation has a meeting scheduled at 6:30 on March 9th, and the agenda for the meeting is the discussion of the deer management plan.
Thank you. Streets and Sidewalks Committee, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to report tonight except that we are going to be attempting to have a meeting either in late March or early April to discuss projects going on in the city the remainder of this year.
Thank you. Water and Utilities Committee, Mr. Hilberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no meeting scheduled this time and nothing to report.
Thank you. Emerging Technologies Committee, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. Working to schedule something the first 10 days of March to start setting forth our list of priorities.
Thank you. Request for council action. We have several for finance. We have 1627, CDBG revolving loan agreement. 1628, letter arrangement for the 2015 audit. 1629, home agreement 133 West Union, fiscal year 2014 CHIP grant. 1630, home agreement for 11 East North, fiscal year 2014 CHIP grant. 1631, expenditure over $15,000 to HD Supply Waterworks. 1632, municipal courthouse and parking facility budget. 1633, MOU for local government safety capital grant program. For the Public Properties Committee, we have 1634, National Wildlife Federation Monarch Pledge. And Special Legislation Committee, 1635, Deer Management Strategies. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hamwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 things briefly. The Working America group, I brought up the last couple meetings, is a legislative political advocacy as well as educational canvassing of our residential areas in the city. They started in January. They're going to go through the election cycle in November. The times of their canvassing will be from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Monday through Friday, and from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekends. These activities are constitutionally protected under the First Amendment, do not require registering with the city for solicitor's permit or following solicitor regulations, as they are not selling anything. Working America is a not-for-profit 501c5 labor organization affiliated with the AFL-CIO. And secondly, I guess, Armstrong Cable sent out a notice here a week or so ago to our residents about an increase in their cable bills beginning in March. I just want to take this time to remind the residents that the City of Medina has no regulatory control over cable or internet providers in the city. The state of Ohio, through the Department of Commerce, handles all the regulatory issues. If residents have concerns or complaints, we ask that they reach out to the Department of Commerce in one of the following ways. The first is that they call them at 1-800-686 7826, and they're open from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. They can also obtain a complaint form from the website, which is www.com/admin/VSA/complaint-ASPX. Once they download that form, they can fax the completed form to the Department of Commerce, or they can email the complaint form to vsa@com.state.oh.us, or they can mail it to the Ohio Department of Commerce, Attention Video Service Section, 77 South High Street, 23rd floor, Columbus, Ohio, 43215. The city has an open door policy inviting competition for cable and internet services, and as of this meeting, no company has stepped forward to offer us any competition whatsoever at this time. We'll continue to look for and pursue every option to help the residents of Medina get the best service at the best possible price as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Durham, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a then and now purchase order on the agenda. I'll address that when we get there.
Thank you. Mr. Huber, Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Sergeant McNabb, Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have nothing to report.
Thank you. Mrs. Marshall, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Mendel, Planning and Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
Thanks. Chief Painter, Fire Chief.
We'll make it a clean sweep. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, Recreation Center Director.
Not that lucky, Mr. President. I got a report, just a short one. The Medina Rec wants to remind the community that we have a Just Kid Stuff garage sale on Saturday, April 16th from 9 a.m. to noon. We still have vendor spots available, so if you're interested in selling items at the sale, you can contact Nita Justice at 330-721-6937 to reserve a spot. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gladys, Building Official.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did want to report, last week we started advertising for the bid for our Foundry Street reconstruction. This is a project that's paid for about 50% of it through a grant that we received, Reconstruct Foundry Street. We will open the bids in about 2 weeks, and I had a couple residents call. We absolutely will have a public meeting once the contractor has been selected and the contract signed, and all residents will be invited to that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Piccoli, Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to acknowledge the Parks and Service crews working well together in preparation for the Ice Festival. It was well attended. There was a lot of preparation. There's a lot goes on behind the scenes. Mostly it was Parks Service assisted as well. And the trash discussions are still taking place with respect to the MC-18 and vetting the Optiva proposal. I know Councilman Colasar called for a health, safety, sanitation meeting later this week, and we'll be given an update as such, and just looking to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Notices, communications, and petitions. We have one, a liquor permit, not to object to the issuance of a D1, D2, D3 permit to South Point LLC, 100 Public Square, Medina, Ohio.
Move not to object.
Second, not to object.
Discussion on a liquor permit. Mayor Hanwell.
Mr. Coyne, this is kind of an unusual circumstance I'd like to share with the council. I was contacted today by the Birch Family Limited Partnership, which is the property owner for this address. They have not approved a lease or an agreement with this South Point LLC, nor have they agreed to permit them to have a liquor permit premise on their property. It appears from what we've been able to determine with the assistance of the police department that the liquor permit was filed by the applicant in hopes of getting a lease agreement without the knowledge of the owners of the property. And liquor permits cannot be authorized in the state of Ohio without the owners of the property, if they're not the one running the business, agreeing to it as well because of the liability and so forth. So although we don't generally, I would respectfully ask the council to ask for the hearing that's requested on this form. The choice is whether or not to have a hearing, and either in Columbus or here. The preference would be, if we have to send people and the owner has to send people, that the preference would be in Medina County versus in Columbus. So I think, Mr. Coyne, I defer to Mr. Huber, but probably a two-part motion. One is to vote on whether to accept it or not, and then also on the hearing.
Thank you. And I believe that we normally vote not to object. We vote yes, which means that we would like the liquor permit to go through. And if you do not want the liquor permit to go through, as we're hearing Mr. Hamwell indicate that the property owner did not approve the tenant for a lease, so we probably want to vote no in this situation, not to have the liquor permit to go through. And then once we vote no, I think Mr. Shields would make a motion to designate the county seat, which is the city of Medina, to be the public hearing location. And I believe that's how it's going. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, Mr. President, I just want to clarify something. So if we vote to object,
yes.
Well, I guess what I really want to know is if the Division of Liquor Control were to issue a permit to South Point, does that mean that the property owner would not enter into a lease with that tenant?
If we approve the liquor permit at South Point and there's no lease entered into with the property owner, the liquor permit would still be issued, which would give the opportunity of the holder of that permit to transfer to a different location of their choosing within or without the city. So if we allow the liquor permit to happen, the applicant will still get the permit, but will not be able to use that permit at this location and could transfer it somewhere else, of which we don't know.
But the
where.
property owner would still entertain signing a lease with that tenant?
No, the property owner has indicated to us that they will not enter into a lease with the tenant for that type of use.
And I'm assuming the use is contingent on that?
Yes, a bar, yes.
Okay.
Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense, everybody? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Simpson.
No.
No.
Coyne.
No.
Hilberg.
No.
Colasar.
No.
Lamb.
No.
Rose.
No.
Shields.
No.
Motion fails 7-0.
Mr. President?
Mr. Shields?
And I would like to make a second motion then that we designate the city of Medina as the location of the hearing as the county seat.
Second?
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on that motion?
Coyne.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Unfinished business, we have none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during the portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there is a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the front right microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council at this time? Introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. We have ordinance 2916, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2416 passed February 8th, 2016, relative to the RFPs for the scanning and indexing services for the Medina Municipal Court.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion? I believe the reason that this ordinance is back on to be amended is that the dates were amended so that there are new dates as far as the RFPs are concerned, and those dates are as follows. Let me get to that real quick. I don't have it open yet. It looks like the dates were changed from, a little further. I've got to go a little further down. Kathy's going to help me here. Here we go. The bid due date is now Monday, March 7, 2016 at 10 a.m., with the award date being Monday, April 4th, 2016 at 4:30 p.m. Those are the changes made to the previously approved, I believe. That was the first one. And they're being changed to, same dates in here. Oh, the bid date is now April 4th rather than that being the award date, and the award date is now May 2nd, 2016. So it's been pushed back a month. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Lamb.
No.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Ordinance 29-16 passes 6 yeas, 1 nay.
Resolution 30-16, a resolution of the Council of the City of Medina, Medina County, State of Ohio, certifying when a municipal obligation was incurred, sums were lawfully appropriated in funds to satisfy the obligation, and sufficient sums currently exist to satisfy the obligation according to the attached sheets.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields?
The emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and the resolution. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. The resolution is due to the fact that a purchase order closed due to the end of the year, and then work that was done right after the end of the year. There was not a purchase order before that work was done. Therefore, now there is a purchase order, so we need this ordinance to pay it, and the emergency clause is requested because the work has already been done, and we need to get the vendor paid.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the emergency clause and or the resolution? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the resolution?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Resolution 30-16 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 31-16, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept easement agreements for the West Smith Road reconstruction project, parcels 1S, T, and T1.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields?
The emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on emergency clause and ordinance. Mr. Patton.
Thank you. This is for an easement over a storm sewer that was installed as part of the city's Phase 1 of the West Smith reconstruction project. We do need that easement in place because it is the city's storm sewer, so we'll need it for maintaining it in the future. We like the emergency clause because, as you know, the project has been completed. We want to get this recorded and paid and finalized.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the emergency clause or ordinance?
Mr. President.
Mr. Colzar.
I will be abstaining on both the emergency clause and the ordinance itself because my employer does business with the company in reference here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Abstain.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 yeas, 1 abstention.
Clerk, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Abstain.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 31-16 passes 6 yeas, 1 abstention.
Thank you. Ordinance 32-16, an ordinance authorizing expenditures for reimbursement of fiscal year 2014 CHIP grant project funds and administrative costs to the City of Wadsworth per the partnership agreement.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Mendel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is the continuation of a request to create, to authorize the city to reimburse the City of Wadsworth under our CHIP program partnership agreement to reimburse them for any of the costs that are incurred through that program and any of the projects that are done that are targeted to be done within the City of Wadsworth. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Clerk, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 32-16 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 33-16, an ordinance amending section 3102 and 3107 of the Salaries and Benefits Code of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to the new MCRC Senior Activities Coordinator position and approving the job description.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a request for council to approve the MCRC to add a part-time position in the programming department called a Senior Activities Coordinator. The MCRC currently has a position called a Recreation Leader performing the duties, but it doesn't really reflect the job responsibilities in pay. So this position is replacing one of our Rec Leader positions and will be funded through our existing program department budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Ordinance 33-16 passes 7-0.
There is one a resolution to be added to the agenda. That's Resolution 3416.
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields.
I move at this time to add ordinance 3416 to the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Resolution 3416, a resolution adopting the Housing Revolving Loan Fund Administration Agreement between the State of Ohio Development Services Agency and the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to the Community Housing Improvement Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and the resolution. Mr. Mendel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. As I talked about earlier today, this is something that is required as a part of our administration of our CHIP program from the state, and we have to have this in place prior to the application for our next round of CHIP funds. And this is something that's required by the State of Ohio Department of Development and Department of Development. So the emergency clause is requested because this is our old agreement expired at the end of 15, so we need a new one in place as soon as possible prior to our next application process. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion on the emergency clause and or the resolution? Clerk, please call the roll on emergency clause.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call the roll on the resolution.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Resolution 34-16 passes 7-0.
Council comments.
Mr. President,
Mr. Rose.
I just want to thank Dan Gladish for his work. Last couple of months, I've taken some issues to him that have been brought to me by residents, and he's very quickly and professionally taken care of them all to the complainant's satisfaction. So I just wanted to thank you for that publicly.
Thank you. Any other additional council comments?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that there was a Shade Tree Commission meeting, and I took over from Councilman Colasar, who's been a great protector of city trees, and I think a lot of residents will be heartened to know. One of the things that came out of the meeting from the forester and from the parks director is they have been working with the gas company, who a lot of residents have seen, doing work, infrastructure work along the right-of-ways that they have to do. And they have worked to try to make that as less invasive as possible with the trees, and try to work around the trees where they can. And I thought that was something that, to me, that was pretty heartening. And I'm sure anybody, has that concern around town will be glad to know that they've had that communication and have tried to work out some of the difficulties that we had earlier in the year.
Thank you. Any other additional council comments?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
I'd like to make a motion that the council go into executive session at 7:56 p.m. for the purposes of considering the employment of a public official or public employee, and for the second purpose of conferences with the city's attorney concerning disputes involving the city, which may be the subject of pending or imminent court
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll of recessing into executive session?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg. Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
And my motion included also to include the mayor and the law director in executive session.
We're going to be recessing into executive session to discuss what Mr. Shields so eloquently presented. We will be coming back to do an adjournment of the council meeting, but taking no action on the items discussed in executive session. Thank you.